welcome back. Hope you enjoyed our chat with Seb Butterworth. Seb has been replaced on the sofa here by William Morgan, author of Strongholds of Satan. He is back. And, of course, Nicky Henderson, the first time this season, the Master of Seven Barrows. Welcome back.
Nice to be here, Nick. Thank you.
William, thank you for coming back.
Thank you for having me again.
Not at all. Nicky, this week has always been a huge week for you, but it is the one great race that's eluded you, the Grand National. Are things about to change?
Well, you'd have to say after, I think this is 47. They can do. The Grand National at least has its own unique thing that miracles do happen in it. Stories happen. Whether I'm going to be a story, I'm a statistic, I think, that says he never won the National. I don't know. We're going to, I mean...
Does it bug you or not?
No. I would love it. I would absolutely love to win it. I mean, if you say, is there anything missing? Of course it is.
But it's not like one of those, oh, Frankie's never won the Derby or McCoy's never won the National. It's not one of those.
Well, nearly, but not quite. You just got to get on with it. I think we've been very lucky with the sort of, our horses. I don't know why we seem to get sort of speedy horses rather than champion hurdles are rather easier than staying chases. I don't know why it is, but we just do have quite sharpy horses. And
is that just the sort of horses you like? Have you got a bit of a thing for quick horses?
I don't know. I suppose it's where you find them and what you buy. It's what you do buy, probably, at the end of the day, or what comes in. And I don't know why even the chasers seem to be a lot more two-milers. We've won a lot more Arkles than we've ever won RSAs or whatever, or said 2 Gold Cups but 9 champion hurdles. So the balance does suggest it's 2 miles rather than 3. But every year you look at the list of horses and say, where is a national horse? And you look at this and say, I cannot make that one. No, you can't. You can't. No. And it's just not there.
Have you tried to turn a few unlikely heroes into Grand National horses over the years?
We sure have. I was talking to Minty last night, as he said, we were playing with Highland, and he and I bought it as a store. So he sort of threatens to retire when he's finally bought me a Grand National winner. But goodness knows how old we're both going to be by the time it happens.
Was it your first or second season that Zongalero was?
Zongalero was our first ever year.
First ever year training, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And he was second?
He was.
Yeah.
It was the most extraordinary thing. I don't know what I thought it was. Fred Winter won it his first year ever training. And I suppose, this is good, isn't it? It was very exciting. It was terrific. But, when we had a few more close shaves and then another second. But recently the record's gone rapid. I mean, I haven't had a runner for the last couple of years, only because we just haven't had one that's been suitable. So at least we've got 2. And Chantry House, he could be one of the fun stories of it. We were schooling over the Aintree fences the other day on Thursday, and he just loved it. I mean, if you go right back, he is capable.
And haven't you been sort of preparing him for the race for quite a long time? Maybe longer than you've been preparing Highland for it?
Yes, possibly. I'd say you have. It's been in the back of our minds. He was always going to have an entry. Highland was, I didn't say a last-minute thought. I was thinking about him for it, but rather thought, blimey, do you really mean you want to run a novice in a race like this? I mean, it is a very different race. We have to accept it from the old, from the Zongalero days, but not all of us can remember it. We were lucky enough to ride over them, and it was. That's where the atmosphere of the whole thing comes from. Those great days.
And you won over the fences, didn't you?
Won the Fox Hunters, yeah.
And can you remember clearly your experience of riding around there and the mixture of adrenaline, fear, excitement, whatever it was?
I can remember it very well because there were lots of mates, Peter Daresbury, Joey Newton, all sorts were we were all career, we were all riding together. That time, I mean, we were having a great time up to Beeches and everything was going well. But after the canal turned, for some extraordinary reason, his neck started to get longer and longer. At least it seemed that way, because the reins were I was running out of reins. And to be fair, the saddle had just started to go backwards, and I was sat on his, well, I was heading toward, the girths had gone right up into his stifles, so it was a balancing act. It was exciting.
So hang on, because you only jumped Beeches once, then you in the Fox Hunters, but that's a fair old way from home to be perched.
It was quite fun. Most of the jockeys said you look like the worst amateur I've ever seen, and then they actually appreciated that it was quite difficult to look good when you're sat on a horse's tail.
I suppose at that point in your life, you don't have that much fear anyway.
Yeah.
But was there anything about that course that could induce at least some butterflies?
Oh, I think before you went out, and I got round in the National once. That was just a great experience. It'd been sad not to have done it. And, yeah, the excitement in the weighing room before those races was something unique. Everybody knew it was something very special. It still is something very, very special, and that's why we all still want to win. But
one thing that struck me watching you this season, and particularly now, we are treated to a Nicky Henderson in the grandstand shot every time you have a runner of any description, whether wins, falls, loses by a short head, whatever it is, we get you with the bins. There doesn't seem to be a race that goes by that doesn't get you pretty much fully wound. And I always wonder how you manage that. How you can manage that level of adrenaline and worry and anxiety on such a regular basis.
I could get pretty wound watching a novice hurdle at Doddiethegreat from home.
But that's what I mean.
Sat at home screaming at...
I guess you either thrive on that or you wither.
I think you do. They all count. Everything. But those big days, I know what you mean. I have to watch it at night when you're rerunning the races, and this ghastly mugshot, this clown with a great big hat on his head and a pair of binoculars, only because I can't see anything anyway, pretending I'm seeing... I mean, if I've got a television, I'm much better.
I mean, this is now, I'm afraid, going to be the iconic one, isn't it? I'm afraid, of Constitution falling at Cheltenham, and then your reaction in the...
Very controlled, I think.
We were mic'd up for the new programme. They've probably got the expletives live.
So we'll see plenty of that midweek in September.
I think so, yeah.
And Jonbon was a pretty good one as well, wasn't it?
I fear so, yeah. I think it was because it was the second sort of situation of the week where you looked to thrown it away.
Was there a little bit of you when we saw that? I wondered whether there was a little bit of you thinking it was going to come at some point, because he was just starting to get so complacent almost thinking he was too good.
I think you did, definitely after the mistake in the Unibet hurdle, Trials Day, that you cannot go on trying to do that. I think he was just... It's wonderful to watch, but they're dangerous, like all those good hurdlers. And they all had that one thing, jumping from A to B, was so slick and quick.
Can you teach that?
But the margin for error is zero.
Can you teach that? Or
no, that's natural. No. Those horses would just see them as the first, and binocular, and all of them were...
Bouverdare was rapid, wasn't he?
Absolutely, so quick and brilliant. That's why they were great hurdlers, and probably wouldn't have made chases.
So after that mistake at the previous Cheltenham, did you do anything as a result of that?
What, before
the festival?
No, different schooling. No. He did. I mean, Nick had just he jumped plenty of hurdles. We didn't take any great steps to take that out of his vocabulary. We have done this time, I have to say.
I was going to say, what have you done?
Barry Geraghty was... I remember we were chatting the day after he said, I've told Nicky, pop him over a little fence.
Well, we didn't. Sorry, Barry, because we took... There was two...
He was very confident that this is what was going to happen.
I'd value his advice, but actually he went loose schooling.
OK.
And he had 3 days, just went over there each day, and he was jumping... I mean, if you had to say what's he jumped since Cheltenham, I'd be thinking if he jumped 20 each day, 60, and then he jumped 10 hurdles, he must have jumped 75 different obstacles since
what would you
Cheltenham.
put up for him in a loose school? Would you put...
It's a double, basically. It's two in and out of telegraph poles.
Oh, fine, OK.
Yeah.
This is Charles Radcliffe.
And they go up. It's in Charles Radcliffe's old place, Marcus Foley, who used to be with us, and he does all our loose schooling. And if we have one that's got a problem, Nico, just get off it, send it to Marcus, and it'll come back 2 days later and can jump out of its skin.
And is he being a little less cocky since he's...
We then schooled him over some hurdles on Thursday, just very slowly, so he couldn't have any of his yahoos. Do you know what I mean? We didn't need him suddenly launching himself in practice, which is normally what he does.
And, I mean, this weekend is almost more compelling than the Champion Hurdle in some ways, because I know he's won the race before the Aintree Hurdle, but, of course, it is 2.5 miles, which people wouldn't necessarily say is his optimum, because he's so fast, and he's coming back off a fall, and you're actually getting the race you wanted at Cheltenham with Lossiemouth and Brighter Days Ahead in the race. You seem to have been even more bullish this week than you were before Cheltenham. How come?
I think you have to be. I think you've got to be positive here and come in and we're here and, well, whoever wants to come and join the party, I think we're in good form. He had to have one bit of work. That was on Friday. Michael's down with us. And as Nico said, he's got to be the judge of that, and he said he feels fantastic.
I know this is a weird thing to say, but now you've had a blip, can you almost go into this with a bit more swagger? Because in a sense, that sort of Ming Vase thing of protecting this undefeated horse has gone now.
Well, I hope everybody says we are protecting it. I promise you, the only reason...
I don't mean that in terms of not running it. No. I mean in terms of... You have a...
You're right.
You have quite a cautious mentality
you do.
1 minute.
But unfortunately, even now, it seems that... Well, he's fallen off his star anyway, and he's now no longer the wonder horse that everybody wanted him to be. He's had a fall. He now has got to get back and reclaim his title.
Except he is still the wonder horse.
Well, quite.
I hope. Yeah, he had a blip.
Yeah.
And I think it's unfair to write him off now. But if they have to on Thursday night, then it'll be a sad night.
William, in the pages of that enormous tome, and bear in mind, this is volume 3. I can barely lift the damn thing. And there's another one to come, isn't there?
There is, yeah. There is, covering the north. This covers the Midlands, which nowadays is just seen as sort of industry racing, if you like, those sort of things. But in those days, the Midlands was a much more interesting place. They had...
so you've got all the Birmingham racecourses.
Yes, the Birmingham, and that's fun enough that the Birmingham racecourse itself is the one. Whenever I talk to the old trainers, that's the one they miss most. It was beautiful from a racing point of view. It's a pretty grim part of the world, but that's the one they all miss.
It's lovely parts of Birmingham.
Is there any evidence of it now? Is the racecourse?
Yes, they've left the paddock. They've got sort of metal stanchions where the paddock was, and they've left that. The rest of it is all high-rise flats. And as you go along the M6 past Fort Dunlop, one of the stanchions goes into the mile start. And but that's the course they all miss. Some of the others around Birmingham are rather different. A lot of the ones in Staffordshire were started in order to wean in the 1820s to wean the locals off bull baiting, because you'd have a sort of bull on a chain, and you'd pitch dogs in against it. And even in the 1820s, they thought they ought to try and suppress it. So they started race meetings to provide counter-attraction. And it sort of worked, but in Stone, in Staffordshire, they had a race meeting for a couple of years, and they thought, well, we've got rid of the bull baiting now, so we'll stop the race meeting. And anyway, rumours got back to the great and good that, in fact, a bull was being sought. So they had to hurriedly put the race meeting back on again. So... You know, you've got a huge contrast between those sort of meetings and the original steeplechases in the shires, the Warwickshire, Northamptonshire, Leicestershire, Lincolnshire, where Lottery and horses like that ran. And
Lottery, of course, was the first winner of the Grand National.
Of the Grand National, when, incidentally, the chair was a wall. So, you know, the Grand National.
Right?
The Grand National has always changed. I mean, it's had radical changes, and those of us duffers who
that was probably considered pretty radical at the time.
It was, and 1928, the canal. Till then, the canal turn was a ditch, and one of the great horses of the era that's tends to be too much forgotten, Easter Hero, who was twice winner of the Gold Cup. He got it wrong and landed on the canal turn and caused, if you like, a Foyneven incident that's long forgotten. So they changed that as well. So there's always been changes to the Grand National. And Jerry Scott, who won the race on Merriman, in the second fastest time ever.
Behind Mr. Frisk.
Yes, behind Mr. Frisk. That was the last national before they put tummies on the fence.
So they were apronless, weren't they?
They were pretty. They had a tiny little thing at the bottom, about that high. Otherwise, straight up. So we do, and sadly say it's old duffers like us. Oh, it's not like it used to be. It has never been as it used to be. And I could show you a thing in the 1880s where the Sporting magazine is saying, Beecher's Brook, it's just a trickle now. So it's always kept changing. But sorry, going back to the thing, the early Shire races, and of course the first National Hunt Chase was run at Market Harborough in 1860, and it was a typical racing affair because first of all it was supposed to happen in 1859, and the hunts were supposed to put up money, and they couldn't get enough money, so there was a quarrel about that. And then when they found this course near Market Harborough, not only the whole idea of the National Hunt Chase was to restore racing to these original early steeplechases, because they were complaining about small fences, horses coming off the flat, winning all these races. So same arguments we have all these years later. And so, but in fact, they had to put in an artificial water jump because there wasn't a good enough brook. And there was a lot of ridge and furrow. And anybody who's hunted across Leicestershire, particularly men, will know exactly what the effects can be of hunting across ridge and furrow. And so there was a lot of complaints. So again, typical racing, there were two national hunt meetings in 1861, one at Market Harborough and one at Cheltenham, just north of the present course. And then they went to Rugby in 1862, came back to Market Harborough in 1863, and then it went all over the place.
Extraordinary.
Before settling each other. So again, nothing has changed. Rows.
And about money.
And about money.
And of course, the whole reason these books are called Strongholds of Satan is because racecourses were great dens of iniquity.
Absolutely.
And vice. And you were only 2 handshakes away from a real dodge pot.
Absolutely.
1 handshake.
Absolutely. No, I mean, they were, yes, and particularly around the Midlands, all the nonconformist preachers were.
And speaking of which, of course, the Aintree Festival, the 3 days of Aintree, has always been known for its sense of fun, for its sort of party atmosphere, if you like, Nicky, as distinct from Cheltenham, where the pressure's ratcheted up so many notches. You actually wear a very breezy countenance going into this week, despite the fact you're still running Jonbon, Constitution Hill and all the others.
Yeah. It's fun, and we all go up there. A lot of us stay in the same hotel. We've stayed with wonderful Bobby McAlpine for 20-something years, and we had wonderful house parties with great names. Sadly, that sort of thing's gone, but everybody's together. We're all away. We can't get back home, so you have good days. Friday is one of the great days racing. The girls from Liverpool are spectacular, and you'll see them in their finery on Friday. It's a wonderful sight. I hope the weather's good, because then it's even more entertaining.
So in a sense, though, even though the whole season's builds up to Cheltenham and all your owners want is a Cheltenham winner, does this festival actually now provide just as important a function in terms of the money, the prestige of the races, the fact that it's the site of the Grand National, that it's fun, there's less pressure, it's all of those things? Can that not give people just as an enriching experience?
Oh, I think it does, and a lot of them are very happy to come here and, I don't say miss Cheltenham, but if it's the right thing to do. Yes, we enjoy it, but I mean, when you're still coming to the Jonbons and Constitutions and these guys and the young horses coming through here this week, the realism soon comes back.
Exactly.
The job is there. That's these guys, these horses.
How clearly Constitution Hill is one of those things. He falls, he's lackadaisical, it's incredibly irritating. Jonbon, how sad were you that he didn't get the chance to do it at a festival this time?
Well, that's sort of about the third time. He's got every single other 2-mile chase, Grade 1 chase there is, once or twice at least. And here is the big one. And it'd be awful sad if he has to, when he does retire, that's not on the CV, because he does deserve it. And he's been a tremendous... shuddering, wasn't it? that he deserves it. And let's see how this week goes. I mean, again, this is over 2.5. He won it last year because he didn't even go to Cheltenham last year.
And he looked good over 2.5 last year as well, didn't he?
He did. He fought hard. 2 miles around Sandown, as you know, is his real piece. So he'll hopefully come back for the celebration chase after this.
And he seems to be able to take racing really well.
He does. And we've tried him on short breaks before, like Aintree to Sandown is only 9 days. And he's done that twice.
And do you think he needs it? Do you think
I think he thrives.
Do you think he's a kind of active horse who needs?
He does. But I mean, our plan with Constitution is we're still hoping.
Going to bash on to Punchestown.
Go on to Punchestown. I mean, you know, he's had one race to get him fully wound up. He's very easy at Trials Day. He hasn't had a race in March. So we're going to have to try and get them both in, and I sincerely hope we will.
And I know you've often talked, and when you talked about the time where you went Cheltenham, Aintree, Punchestown with Sprinter Sacre and he won all 3 races, you've often talked about the reception you got at Punchestown as being one of the things that moved you most in your career. I mean, it could go nuts.
Yes.
If all goes well this week and you go to Punchestown with him, I mean, stand by.
Well, and of course, when Sprinter came, funny enough, the Irish really were. They genuinely came to see him. And I don't think they had an awful lot of opposition to him. This time, if we did go with Constitution, of course, they have got State Man. And so there's going to be there'll be some split camps.
And you've got Lossiemouth and Brighterdaysahead
for this week,
this week.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've got a lot of battles on our hands, and it is going to be tough. He's quite a tough horse now, though. I think he can, you know, as you know, his mind is brilliant.
And always has been.
Always. And so I think he's, you know, these festivals don't get to him like it gets to other horses.
It's funny, actually, since Cheltenham, everyone, the usual debate. When you get a short gap between the 2 festivals, everyone say, oh, well, I'm not sure about Aintree because of the amount of trainers who've suddenly wheeling out the big guns this week. And is Lulamba's coming as well, is he?
Yep. And Django Baie.
And Django Baie.
Yeah.
Which is pretty astonishing, really, given they appeared to have quite hard races at Cheltenham, but evidently are thriving.
Yeah, they've been fantastic. I mean, Lulamba, after I was away for a couple of days, and Charlie Morlock rang, he said, we've got to go and canter this horse. It's mad. So fresh.
What was your read of this Triumph Hurdle?
We've got there. We've done it. We've done it. Oh, luckily there wasn't a camera on me there, because I couldn't believe, because you'd think we won.
Did you actually know what it was that had done you?
No, we did. Nobody knew what it was. Nobody.
Sure.
I think what was done.
What it was.
I wasn't going to say that, but maybe. But the unfortunate thing was that it's come on the other side of the other horse. It was on his blind side. Lulamba had no chance to reply. It just suddenly got him like that. He'd have come back. He's only a baby, really. But he did. It was a pity it didn't happen a bit early. It literally was half stride from 2 strides to the line, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't think Willie would be too cross with what I say, because in the interview afterwards with Lydia, he said, oh, well, I looked down and saw Tony Bloom's colours, and I thought, oh, that must be one of mine.
I love Patrick's comment when he said he must have done some schooling somewhere.
Anyway, I see he's not in the entries for this week, so that's something.
So Lulamba's out. That's great.
Yeah.
Great. I'm sorry, I say out. He's out this week rather than out of the race.
Yeah.
Don't, if you've just tuned in and heard me say that, don't get the wrong end of the stick. He'll be there in the anniversary hurdle. And Django Baie goes 2.5.
I think so. He's in the 3 as well.
And the 3.
There's no 2.
No 2, no.
Well, he wouldn't run in a 2 again. I think we proved that day that 2 miles is far too short. 2.5 or 3, we're just looking at both at the moment. I mean, this was the most extraordinary performance. And he is not a 2-miler. But 2.5 would seem to be the optimum, so I suppose that's the road we'll take.
And this was the moment where the gods decreed you'd used up all your luck.
Yes, and it was the second race of the meeting, and we thought, yahoo, this is going to be a fantastic week. And blimey, within half an hour, we're back right where we were meant to be.
But to go back to the point that you've made so many times, if you've got 1 on the board, it's not to say the rest of it doesn't matter. Yeah. But it's not quite as galling.
And they all ran well. I mean, the rest of the week we had 4 seconds, and Doddy won the attempts, 4 seconds, and plenty ran really, really well. Just those 2 big boys were the...
And how's Doddiethegreat doing?
Doddy's great. He'll wait for Punchestown. I don't think Aintree would be a good track for him, and sadly there's nothing at Ayr, which is where I'd like to have gone for Kenny Alexander.
So you could have a bit of a squad for Punchestown, could you?
Oh, we could, yeah.
Yeah. So you take him and you take Constitution Hill. Who else might come into the argument?
Well, I don't know. There are a few, I mean, I think with Lulamba we thought we might as well go here, and that'll do him. But there's a fair few for various, maybe not the grade ones, but plenty of other. There's a lot of tempting little. I mean, we were even toying with Mr. Coffee having a try at the banks.
Why not? He seems to like it.
He loves these things. As long as you're jumping, he's happy.
Yeah, Nico loves it, doesn't he?
Yeah, so does. So do we all.
And how is Sir Gino doing?
Great. I mean, as far as we know. I mean, he's still only on hand walking exercise, building up gradually a week. Rescan tomorrow. Hopefully, in a month or two, he'll get out in a field, and then it's going to be a long old journey. I mean, we cannot guarantee he'll race again, but there's everybody hopes he will. But this suspensory in the hind leg has been. Look, I'm not the vet. We've got our fingers crossed.
It's a very, very unusual set of circumstances, isn't it?
As rare as it. I've never seen it before, but then that's horses. And this game, every year you see something you've never seen before.
And with each passing occurrence like that, when you get a big blow with a big name horse, because you've been there before, does it make it any easier to handle or not?
Probably does. I don't know whether you become hardened to it, but you get used to the blows. The blows, don't probably physically hurt so much, but it eats you like nothing on earth. It's horrible, but it's what you have to do. There are different problems. Horses can do extraordinary things, and they baffle the veterinary world, let alone ourselves.
You've got two horses in Constitution Hill and Jonbon who've now seemed to have been around for an awful long time, but they're still not that old. Lulamba we know about. We hope Sir Gino comes back. Who are the horses that are going to be really coming up through the next couple of seasons, do you think?
Well, you'd like to think the likes of Django Baie is going to be... We had some very good novice chasers this year. It didn't actually go all according to plan, so I still think there's a very good squad in there.
Yeah.
Might be even a sort of 3.5-mile chaser in there.
Oh, yes, please. Next year's Grand National.
Next year's Grand National. I'm looking for him already. I think I know where they might be, actually. But you've got to, they've got to get up to that rating as well. It's not so easy to get into the race as well. Normally you could pick one out and you're pretty sure to get an entry. Now you've got to be 145 plus to get in.
Now, you've got a new nice horse. We were told the other day, Jerry Ahern was over at Auteuil, wasn't he? And he's bought you a nice horse for JP.
Apparently.
Yes.
I know it's due over, but...
Not arrived yet.
But I haven't seen it
But the
yet,
name's completely gone out of my head.
It's a filly I know by Maxios.
That's it, yes.
I know no more.
And she was very impressive,
I've seen the race,
Yeah.
But we love those fillies. I mean, again, with JP, he has that Joyeuse. She's done us very well this year. As we did with... we've had loads of them. They're lovely.
William, before we go, I might ask you just what a rarity Liverpool is now in terms of its proximity to a major city. When once this was the norm to have racecourses in every major city and lots of them.
Yeah.
Just how much should we treasure this extraordinary corner of Merseyside that has remained unspoiled?
I think it's extraordinary because actually, historically, urban tracks didn't do very well. Manchester sort of failed, and a lot of urban tracks don't go well. But Liverpool just loves it. And say when you ride there, it's sort of, it's a unique thing when you walk in. Most tracks someone might sort of mumble good luck or something. The Liverpudlians are on after you, and they certainly tell you when you've muffed it, which I usually did. And Liverpool is unique in so many ways, isn't it? And it is a great rarity to have. The only tracks, funny enough, you can compare it with probably are actually the Australian ones, Rose Hill, which may go, and otherwise, flat courses sometimes in the Far East can go okay. But here, they've never been You know, once the big conurbations, in modern times, they've struggled. So Liverpool is unique.
And that great big space in a city and property developers everywhere. So it's got to have plenty of support, hasn't it? Which Aintree has had over the last 50 years or so. I mean, to stave off the developers.
Keep it out of the developers' hands.
Well,
remember we were having the fighting fund.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That was
well, John
80s,
Hughes is too much forgotten.
Yeah.
He was the architect of it, because the chair fence, the chair next to it, which is next to it, was actually the chair for the distance. It was the distance chair on the flat course. So that if you crossed the line first, you hadn't passed the distance chair, you were out when they had races in heats. So that's what the chair is. So, you know, and right up to modern times, there was these few big races over the fences, and Lord Marmay then introduced the Marmay course, which were mini national fences in those days. And otherwise it was a flat meeting. And John Hughes was the man who said, look, this is a waste of time.
It was a mixed meeting when we were starting. I mean, there was a flat in the weighing room. There was the flat boys and the jumps boys,
and they had each one weighing room. And so, you know, he deserves, because he effectively made this festival as it now is.
And aren't we grateful for it? And this time next week we'll be reflecting on another Grand National. And before we go, very quickly, Nicky, Highland and Chantry House. I'm guessing Nico on Highland.
I think that's the plan. Yep.
And who will ride Chantry?
That we haven't actually discussed.
Waiting
I think
for the...
JP will have his usual squad, so we'll. You might ask me what cap cover we'll be wearing, but I think I'm unlikely to know that until the day.
There'll be no shortage of volunteers.
No, exactly.
Thank you ever so much for coming in. William, thank you. Cornelius, likewise. John Inverdale earlier in the programme, and Seb Butterworth and Roger Teal. And thank you very much for watching. We will be back here, same time, same place, next week, reflecting on the Randox Grand National of 2025. Bye for now.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.